Hello, my fellow board gamers, and welcome to the channel all about economic board games. Today, I bring you a video on the top highlights of the UK Games Expo 2022. I've just finished an epic 2 days there, and I've got lots of goodies to share with you in terms of economic games I have either played or seen, or just want to raise attention to you guys. So diving straight in then, well, I did a top 5 recently, actually, I wanted to remind you guys of, and in that top 5 I pretty much played, I played all of those 5 games, so I will mention them and how I got on and maybe whether they'd still be in that top 5. So here we are. First game I did get to play, which was in that top 5 originally, was Megawatt, and this is Discover Energy, the second edition. This is pretty much what I expected. It's that 3 to 5 player game. It says it takes 30 to 60 minutes, but we played it in lightning speed. It was about 15 minutes to about half an hour, and it's that lightweight game. And in this one you have got this sort of building an electricity grid to power the future, and you can see this is your turn order cards. You can see it's quite basic really. You're drawing cards into your hand up to 4. You have a mixture of either tech or upgrade or action cards, which I'll show you on the next slide. You're playing these cards and you've got like this kind of standard 5 coins, and it goes up and down depending on some of the actions you might have. So you're building these tech cards and you're trying to get a synergy between, and at the end of the turn you can see you can keep cards. But skipping to, you can see on the far left you've got your tech cards. That's your infrastructure, and you'll see on this slide here you can build nuclear, hydro, coal and gas. You've also got in the middle some upgrades in black there, so they give you some nice benefits. You can upgrade your existing stuff with maybe ×2, and on the far end you've got some action cards that let you do a little bit of take that maybe, and some nice benefits on there that influence maybe your money to do more things. And you can see at the bottom right in that red card, the perfect storm. So there's a bit of theme there as an event is revealed at the beginning, and that dictates the number of rounds as well. So coming back to this one, you can see you've got the different types of energy. Now looking at nuclear, you've got a power of 5, but its impact is 1, and at the end of the game the difference between those would be your score. So 5 minus the 1, you've got a difference of 4 there. So you can see it's quite costly in the top right, 5 coins. Some of them, like coal, is 5 power and 5 impact, so it's kind of neutral at 0, so you're not really gaining many points. But you can do some cool like carbon capture type stuff which eliminates all your impacts, so then that would be 5 minus 0 is 5 points at the end if you can get the right cards and locate them. So really kind of basic game this. It's got a nice sort of notion about it, that whole clean energy, and a very educational vibe to this one. And you can see there's a few more cards and players. You develop your tableaus, you go throughout the game. And here was some more on the display area. So you got your concentrated solar at the bottom of it, ×2 in yellow. The interconnector just above it in purple is quite a nice card to try and get. So yeah, quite a really small pack. Well, it's a small package, portable, and definitely worth checking out this one. The economy is limited. It's more of that card play. So yep, I did enjoy this one. Over to Autobahn then. This was number 1 in my top 5 video previously, and I only really got to experience the first round because such a heavier game, and it's a long play, and obviously there's only 1 copy there, could you believe it or not. So this is kind of the setup really. You got this one road in the middle that you start with. There's a petrol station on there for demo, but it was quite a clunky start in my opinion, trying to figure out, well, why exactly maybe do I want to build this road? Now, a bit of a description, and so you're building roads, you're delivering goods, and you're getting up the Ministry of the Transport ladder. It's 1 to 4 players. Longer play time here, 90 to 150 minutes. We were there for probably 45-60 minutes, and this is heavier complexity. Now, on the next slide, you can see we'd built some infrastructure up marginally here, just a few on some fuel stations. We had a few trucks, and the bulk of this was kind of not cooperative, but you're semi-cooperative. You're building this network, you're trying to get to certain locations to meet these network cards you've got for some extra victory points. You've got this index chart that kind of represents if you go to this country, you'll get value. If you sell certain goods, you'll get a certain value for them. So you're trying to interconnect where you want to build these roads and then upgrade them, and there's more points dependent on which colors you chose. So A lot of strategy I haven't managed to explore, but I can really see the depth in this one. This is your player board. So on the far left, you've got some sort of keys. You can unlock this kind of pyramid of bonuses where that sort of yellow truck is. So you can see I managed to place one key, which managed to give me, what was that, a free upgrade, was it? No, place a road. And I can't remember what that little green icon was now, but but you can see once you've unlocked that one, and then you unlock the one above it, you get those benefits, and then you unlock the two above it, you get those two extra benefits. So at the top, you're going to be playing the cards, and depending on the color, will impact where your little dudes go, and what meeples will call them, and you can see later on as they go up, you have area control in certain areas that give you power and influence based on that sort of political side of it. So yeah, this is your player board. You place your actions at the top. At the bottom you can see, well, at the top there you can see you can either unlock and progress. The next one is you can place up to 3 cards there throughout, is build roads on the whole network, the Autobahn. Next one's upgrade, and then you can place trucks and you can place fuel sort of stations as well to gain money as well. So a lot going on in this. This one here, you can see the 3 different areas. You can get some money on the far right, 12 in the first round. You can see the costs of either building an entire road or part of a road or upgrading. So yeah, that's quite nice to see there. And this is that whole, you can see there at the very bottom is the different coloured sort of meeples, and you'll be sort of having a bit of jockeying for area control to get the most money basically when those interconnections score. And above it here, we didn't really get to experience a lot of this, but this is kind of, I'm assuming, where you're getting more power and stance on the political sort of side of it. So yeah, I'm interested to see more on this when it comes out. Of course I'm going to play it, and of course I'm going to show you it, but for now it wasn't quite as smooth lined as I'd like, but yep, very interesting one this. And next then, so Edict, I've talked a lot about this on the channel. I managed to say hello to the designers there. I still highly rate this. Hopefully they can make a few of the adaptations we've highlighted to them, but yeah, it looks fantastic. Hopefully you guys who were there managed to check this one out. Edict Solar Contention, keep it on your radar. Next, Solar 175, I popped by. Unfortunately, it wasn't demoing the game. It was literally just showcasing it and kind of highlighting all about it, but it still looks fantastic. And for those who aren't familiar with it, it's this sort of dystopia and legacy game, which is quite unique in the whole economic area of gaming. And you can see some more pictures here. This whole solar system, probably heavier than I actually thought it was. It kind of had medium complexity, but I think this is edging into that heavier one. There's these whole factions. If you just see the top right, you can see top left there, the Workers' Union Party. So some political back and forth and power sway there. So I like that. I don't have any idea what the rest of this means, and you got some more pictures here as well. So obviously this is prototype, but yeah, moving on to Magnate, I have managed to get a copy of this. The stand was quite small this year. They weren't doing demos this year, but you could have a little look at it and how it feels, and I have got a copy, so hopefully I'll bring this to you guys on the channel in the next month or two if I get a couple of plays under my belt. And you can see on this one, you're building a city to make a fortune. It only came out 2021, plays solo up to 5, slightly long game, 60 to 120 minutes, I guess, depending on player count. I've yet to play this one, and it says medium heavy complexity, and you're basically a property developer, and you're out to build an empire in the midst of a citywide property boom. You're snapping up this valuable land and constructing the right buildings in the right locations. You'll attract hopefully higher value tenants and start raking in the big bucks, but you have to beware, because as the city grows, everything you build will also open up new opportunities for your competitors. Will you make a fortune, or will you be caught out when the boom inevitably turns to bust in a game end market crash? So this just oozes everything I like in a game. I was a big fan of Cape May, so I'm hoping for similarities there. And look at the components and the miniatures, folks, beautiful. And this was the stand that I was at, and they had a few bonuses and things to give away there. Okay, next up, something I managed to play last year. This is a Mini Express, and it's on the right, you can see it's the map pack one with Taiwan and the United Kingdom. I have not actually played Mini Express, the original one, which came out quite recently. So this one, here it is, Mini Express, the actual expansion. So I got a go of this, and it was just more to highlight it was there. Hopefully you got to play with it and to keep it on your radar, really, if you do like the original Mini Express. It's based off the Mini Rails, I believe. That this map is available. It's quite streamlined and simple for me. Probably prefer those sort of Iberian, what's it called, Irish Gauge when I get around to playing that, and the Ride the Rails. I very much enjoy that kind of series, so hopefully get Iberian Gauge under my belt at some point. But yep, you can see here it's that typical, building your train networks and investing in other shareholders and getting the most income there. So yeah, right, we did get to play AU, and what a fantastic game this was, folks. For me, I wanted to really give it a go, even though I'm not a massive fan of the whole wood look, but the gameplay just shone out, and you can see here we've kind of mid-game slightly, and in the middle is your nations. So if my memory serves me right, you've got UK, USA, Russia and Germany, and depending on the gold you have, so it's kind of upside down here, but let's just say the UK in the orange. So upside down, they've got 42 gold and they've got 35 in currency out there. So the difference gives you your credit of 7. And that means that's sort of your strength of your currency and your nation. So you've got a little bit of wriggle room, and you can see you work your way down. Obviously, it's upside down, but 7, 5, 3 and -3. And that dictates how powerful your currency currently is. And as you get to round 4, whoever has jockeyed for the first position, and if it ended like this, UK would have 7. They'd get 3 victory points. On the far right, just next to the UK, you can see 3 victory points. Now, yellows is 0 victory points. So if you are holding German currency at the end of the game, it's worth nothing. So you're having to battle to get the right currencies. Now, how's that done? Well, you've got these various resources here. You can see you've got iron, gas, coal and oil. And how this one works is that you bid in the opening round to try and get a zinc, and that zinc's kind of like a resource you keep throughout the entire game. And the reason you want to do that is because when you come to mine, which happens later on, you can see this board here with little arrows. If you manage to get, you have to have individual resources at the top. So we've got iron, gas, coal and oil, and for doing so, you can see we've met the criteria for 1 just above the gas. We've managed to get to oil, so we've got 2 above, which means we can mine 2 things from this bag. It's a bit of pot luck, but as you mine for gold, hopefully a lot of gold, up to 10 I believe it is, and some of them have -5 just for a bit of theme in there. But yeah, that's how you're going to get your gold to then, if I go back a slide, to increase that far right figure, which then gives you a bigger variance, which increases your credit, which hopefully keeps you up the track to gain the most highest valuable currency. So yep, you're trying to, every time you do a trade, so once you've done that bidding for the zinc and maybe you wanted to get some sort of monetary quantitative easing out, you can do that at the same point, which probably makes no sense to you now, but it's a nice little addition to the game. You then go into a 5-minute trading, and when you trade, you can't trade resource for resource, but you can trade, I can say, right, I want your coal. So you can see here you've got these little ships on top. So you've got red, yellow, orange and green. And I go to this player, right, I want your gas in red there, and I will give you, well, I have to give you one of my currency, which is, say, the dollar, and I'll give you a gold with it as well. So you're trading your currency and some gold, preferably not gold because that's quite valuable, but you want to be trading your money for that resource, and then you can do negotiations back. But once that 5 minutes is finished and these boats come off and the trading's finished, that's ended, and you will go into mining here, which I sort of described on the left, to get those resources, which is the mine in here. You'll update the track. You can see the zinc just at the top there, and you will determine the new turn order and go around, and you've got 4 rounds there. Oops, skipped ahead, sneakily giving you what's the next game I'm going to talk about. But yeah, coming back here, you can see you go 4 rounds, and I just felt this game was just really surprisingly how simple it was, but how actually realistic to life, and how the gold standard was, and how your fluctuations in which currencies you want. So very interesting game, this one, and I have actually managed to get a copy to borrow, so I will bring you an overview and a run through of this one soon. So no surprises. Khora, Rise of an Empire. This wasn't on my top 5. It has been out a year, 2021, and it's not the most economic game, but I wanted to highlight it, and you've got an image here of the board. I really, really enjoyed this one, and as I say, it's not the most economic, but you've got this whole, let me get a bit of a description on this one. So basically, you're in ancient Greece and you're developing your city-state faster and better than your opponents. Now, it plays 2 to 4, 75 minutes, and it's that medium, higher complexity. Now, In this, you are at the head of a blossoming city-state in ancient Greece, and on your turn, you must take 2 of the following actions. So you've got some interesting things to do here: philosophy, legislation, culture, trade, military, politics, or development. You choose your actions that align your strategy, but also based on these dice rolls. So you roll in these dice and you place them on those 7 actions, depending on what you can do, and then you undertake those. There's some military stuff on the far right of the main board where you can hopefully don't destroy your, what they called, your people of your nation, because you want to keep them high on the far left, and they give you sort of these, I can't remember all the names now, but the colours, you'll be needing those red, blue or green to be able to get cards out from your hand. So if you see your player board at the bottom left, and at the very bottom left you've got various cards you want to get out into play, and they need sort of colour combinations. So interesting game, this one. It's a quicker play, I'd probably say 60 to 90 minutes on this one, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Next we have Gonza Index, one of the biggest surprises for me. Now, I would have added this to the top 5 and it would have been high up, but I didn't know if they were taking it to the convention. And this is from the same guys who made Solar 175. They wanted to incorporate this actually into the main game, but felt it was a little bit complex, so they made a separate game, and no one is talking about this. But for me, it's a sort of this dystopia futuristic stock market. And you can see here you've got some of these corporations, and obviously these little gold cubes are going to be going up and down, and you'll have, you know, the discs here represent your stock holding in them, and hopefully it goes up, and at the end of the game they're worth more. And this is the actions. Now you're rolling dice, so it's kind of like that Yahtzee feel. You get 2 re-rolls. You can see at the top there, if you happen to get that symbol and you keep it, you can take 1 credit, and you want those credits because they give you more capacity to do the next thing, which is apply your credits on to the broker cards, which give sort of game-changing, game-breaking aspects, which I'll show you on the next slide. And the red one here, you can influence stock prices down. Next one is influence prices up in the green. And you can put one of your credits, finally, onto one of those companies, which is how you're going to make the most money and have investments in the companies. And finally, E, if you get that, you put one of these tokens on one of the event cards, and that dictates the flow of the game from round to round as these events happen and sway the values of some of these shares. So here you can see some of the, what were they called now? They were the broker cards. So if you can tilt your head down slightly, you can see what we got. The top one, trader insurance. I can't quite read the description, but these are really powerful. And if you manage to get your token on them and you win them, they can do a lot of good juicy things for you. And these are the event cards I was mentioning, so they will fluctuate the corporation's values. And finally, what an absolute beast, and a delight and a pleasure to find this game. I was not aware it was even there, and this one is, because I don't even have a picture of the box. There is no box, it's so early on. It's 18XX, the roll and write game. If I said that right, yeah, roll and write. Wow, folks, this, now I've not touched that much into the 18XX theme. I just have not got the time in my current life at the moment, but I will do, and I will bring you more of that down the road. But for now, this game really scratched a certain itch. For you guys who've played 18XX, this will probably, you know, all become familiar. But on here, you've got your trains on the right, and you're trying to, based on the dice that come out and how many of a certain number of dice will dictate how the quantity of the action you can do. So the actions at the bottom on this sort of paper here, from left to right, you can add the income. So if you've got, say, 3 dice of, and they're all 6 pips, irrelevant what the pip is, in this case you just get free money. So you can see those little 1 pips in the middle, you'd add your income there. If you get over 5, you'd add it to the next row, and then finally at the bottom there's 10 little pips, you'd add your income 10 there, which is an interesting little sway. You can also buy shares, is the next action there, and I happen to be yellows here, which is a number 3. The other 2 players, there was 1s and 1s or 2. So if you had a 2, you could buy a share in there. So you start getting dividends, and dividends are kind of paid out. You can see the locomotives, if they've got carriages, for each carriage you're going to get an extra 1 income when they either run their train, and it doesn't necessarily, which is interesting, have to go along a route, but if they activate that action, you're going to get dividends. Next one was placement of, well, not placement of actual tiles, but taking certain cubes, which I'll show you in the next slide. And you can see just on the top, you can actually write on the map and show your route and try and get to all these cities. Next action was to actually purchase trains and carriages, and the final one was to run your train to go and get income and potentially give dividends to your opponents. So here you can see where you can buy the locomotives depending on the dice pip you took. the quantity, so you can see 1 to 6. So interesting play when they're actually on your player board on the far right here. The higher the number, so the 4 at the bottom means I could have up to another 3 carriages, so 4 in length, which gives you the potential for more income because it's a multiplier, and more income as a shareholder from other opponents. You have got just below all of the cubes, and just below them you can see a red cube will give you a straight line, a green slightly curved, and a blue a tight one. It's a bit of competitiveness as to getting the cubes. The greys are jokers, so you want to use these to manipulate where you're going to go on the map. Have I got a map on? Yep, you can see here. So you're trying to get to these cities, maybe as far as you can, or as shrewd as you can, and efficient, and run them trains and get the income. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, folks. It was a lot of fun. We didn't play a full game. As you can see, we've only got a few tracks in. Took about sort of 15-20 minutes, but really gave us a nice flavour of this one. And they're hoping, chatting to the guys who made this, 2D6 I think they were called, and they're hoping to bring this in full release next year to this convention, so that'll be nice to see. So there we are, folks. I hope you had a fabulous time at the Games Expo. For me, I had a wonderful time meeting everyone there. It was a really great experience. Again, a lot of nice economic board games out there, and hopefully some of these will sort of come to your attention. You can go check them out and have a look at how they progress over the year if they are due out. And there we are, folks. See you soon.